I'd like to call to order the Village Board regular meeting of November the 14th, 2013 to order at 7:05 p.m. Clerk Simsky, may we please have the roll?
Mayor Gunter.
Present.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington.
Here.
Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry is absent tonight. Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here.
Trustee Seneca.
Here.
Manager Searle.
Here.
Public Works Director and Assistant Manager May.
Here.
And Attorney Zimmerman.
Here.
Could you please all rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're getting there.
As everybody probably knows, we lost a true community leader, a friend, a lifelong resident of this community, former Mayor Bill Ron, passed away this week. Tomorrow, his services will be at Modell Funeral Home on 7710 South Cass Avenue, and the service will be at 11 a.m. at the First Congregational United Church of Christ on Curtis Street in Downers Grove on Saturday. What I'd like to do, I don't know if there is a pastor here, so then I'd like to call the pastor of the church to please come to the podium, and if you could say your name, and we'd like him to say a few words, and then maybe have a moment of silence for Bill.
Great. My name is Rick Thorsell. I'm actually the new associate pastor. This is my second week on the job, so I am filling in for the night. I would invite you all, if you are so inclined, to join in a brief prayer. Gracious God, in these moments we give thanks for the life of Bill Ron. His time on this earth exemplified one of service, and he lived out your call every waking day. He unselfishly served his neighbor. He was a teacher of generations, both young and old. Bill modeled what it meant to be a husband and father, and he gave much more than words can adequately describe to his community. We give thanks to you, God, for this life that touched so many, and we pray that his memory remain through this government body and in those who follow in his footsteps. In your many forms, we pray this to you. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And again, we've lost a great leader, a great friend, and Bill was the longest serving, continuous serving mayor this community has ever seen. So again, for those, please stop by the wake tomorrow and pay your respects to the family. Open forum, we have a request from Westmont Chamber, Larry Forsberg, reports of Halloween costume contest and Holly Days. So, Larry.
Thank you and good evening. I just wanted to share a quick recap of the Halloween photo contest that we had as a fundraiser for the Westmont Chamber of Commerce Educational Foundation. I think everybody heard we had about 600 to 700 guests that were at the trick-or-treat trail. And for the second year, we had all types of people participating in the trick-or-treat trail. We had families, of all different types of costumes. This one was pretty interesting. Cowboys and Indians.
Looks like it's out of magazine.
We had all ages from very young and happy. 2 siblings. Probably had a couple discussions about how much candy they had when they got home. And I think these were the 2 that probably had that discussion right there. Plus, we had some older children that were participating in this. And even adults were getting into the fun of the day with their costumes. And to help keep us safe throughout the day, of course, we had with us McGruff, the crime dog. I want to say a special thank you to Kim and Joe Palladino, the photographers that donated their time to make this possible. I want to say thank you to the frame makers who donated the space to make this possible. And our award winners, our 3rd place award winner went to Adam, who was dressed up as a minion. He won he got 2,000 votes, and it was a penny per vote. He got 2,000 votes to come in 3rd, and he received a $25 gift card. Our 2nd place was a family, Powder Puff Girls, and they received a $25 gift card and a $35 gift card for Uncle Bub's. And our 1st place was Doc McStuffins. She received 2,600 votes. She's the granddaughter from Pollock Glass owners. And, but these are just some of the examples, and there were 40 people that participated, and the range of costumes, you know, it just gives you a real feel for how involved the community was in participating in this. And we want to say thank you to all our residents who participated and made a really fun day, and it raised $125 for our education foundation. So we want to say thank you for that. Changing gears a little bit, moving from what we just accomplished with the trick-or-treat trail, looking forward, the weather's starting to feel like it. It's holidays time. On the 24th of November, we'll have the decorating going on at Veterans Memorial Park. Starts at noon, goes throughout the afternoon. You'll see all types of community groups out there decorating trees. There's going to be a food drive, so we encourage all the residents to come out and please make a donation to the food drive, especially this time of year. It's very important. There's also going to be a craft bazaar going on throughout the afternoon inside the gym. Actually, it's the entire building because it's an enormous craft fair. So those who are looking for gifts and items for the holidays, that's a great opportunity for that. And I don't want to forget the Westmont Lions are going to have a pancake breakfast from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. over at the administration building in Richmond and Linden there. So come on out, have a great time. It's a great way to kick off holidays, and we'll have more information about a lot of other upcoming holidays events at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Are there any other requests for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Under the first report is the mayor, and I do have representatives here tonight from Community Unit School District 201, Garden Project, Ms. L. Hootman, and I also see Superintendent Carey here, and I see some students, so the podium is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. We do have a presentation, if we could have that put up. And I have brought a wonderful group of students here. These are my AP Environmental Science students, and truly wonderful because they have really pulled all this together for us. We have created a garden and a plant nursery at our high school, and Mr. Dominides has also been instrumental in making this program work. We are part of the environmental club. We sponsor the environmental club. The students have come today to really tell you a little bit about what we're doing in class, what we're learning, how we've incorporated this garden into our school, and really have grown from it, and also have been able to provide lifelong skills for our students. So with that, I would like to have you guys come up and tell a little bit about what you've learned.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Posidoni. And, well, we've been able to grow in our garden using no pesticides, which is really nice because it's good for the plants and also good for us. And so there's no chemicals in them. And we also have a compost bin in there, which is where we put all the rotted vegetables that will decompose into the soil and then we can use that soil later on, and it has nutrients in it. We can use it later on for when we grow in the future. And then it's also all organic and really healthy, and it's really great because we get to use it in our food services, and we're able to eat it as well. And I have to say my favorite thing we had cucumbers, we had tons of stuff, and my favorite thing was potatoes. They made fresh mashed potatoes, and it was really good. And also for the community, it's really great because we're learning through, building this garden, and it's a really great experience. And we're working together with everyone in the class, and we're providing the food for our school, but we also, in the future, are going to try to do things such as provide for a food pantry or other people in need, and it's helping us to grow the garden while also grow as individuals, which is really nice, and I think it's just a good experience. Yes.
Very nice.
Hi, I'm Andreas Dominides. I'm an earth science and physical science teacher at Westmont. Just to speak to the educational benefits that we've seen from the garden. One of the things that I've been able to do, fortunately, is in earth science class, we're now able to kind of use the information that we gathered from the garden, collect some of the soil, and we've been able to use some soil tests, look at the physical composition, the chemical composition, and really have students take ownership of that so that they're able to kind of tell the other classes or tell the environmental club, hey, this is what the soil needs, this is what we tested, this is the lab we did, and here's why it's useful for us. So it's been very beneficial in terms of allowing students to see the direct applications of some of the lab reports that we've been able to do. So having that resource there has been extremely beneficial for us to be able to use and incorporate into a lot of our lessons.
Hey there, my name is Nathan Debs. I'm going to give you guys a little information about the raised garden boxes we made and as far as how our planting went. Prior to this class coming into effect last year, our environmental club through the school constructed our garden boxes out of cedar because it's obviously a wood that withstands weathering and the element's a lot better versus other products. And so through our environmental club, we constructed the boxes which would be set on top of our soil and the mulch that we would end up planting our beds in. And during the summer, as a requirement for the class, a lot of the students actually came out and we were able to have planting days where we dug the areas out and actually laid the mulch and the soil, set the beds in, and then we ended up setting our seeds in the ground and getting ready for being able to observe it through the class as the year went on.
Hi again. We also, during the summer, we came in a couple times. We had dates planned, and we came in and we planted the seeds. And it was a really cool experience because then throughout the school year, we were able to see like a little tiny sprout, and then eventually it grew into all the vegetables. And it was just a good experience, and we learned how to tell the difference between the different vegetables because one time Ms. Hoopman told me and this other girl in the class to go and get the cucumbers. And so we went out and we accidentally got the zucchini. So it was kind of nice to be able, then she showed us, she took us out there and was like, no, like this is the zucchini, this is the cucumber. So it was just a cool experience to watch everything grow, and I learned a lot from it, and it was just a lot of fun.
Hi, my name is Ashley Welter, and to start off, we took organic seeds instead of actually buying plants. We used seeds and we nurtured them, and when everything was ready, we learned how to harvest like Vanessa was talking about. And it was actually a really cool experience because I never really knew how to, pick it when it's ripe, so I got taught that, and it was a good experience, and I learned stuff for later in life. And these are actually skills we can learn or use for the rest of our lives. So, and like Vanessa said, we use all this food in our cafeteria, which I've personally had and I actually appreciate because I'm very health conscious, and usually in our cafeterias we don't have the most healthy foods, and I actually I appreciated it, and they were actually very good.
Hi, my name's Paul Nemec, and I'm gonna talk about the compost bin. Once again, what Nate said, we use the cedar wood, basically because it won't like deteriorate over time. It also hasn't been sprayed with anything that's like unlike natural and or like bad for the environment. And composting, basically that is recycling. It's just taking all the old like organic matter from the plants and like old like fruit that went bad or whatever, and just throwing it all into this bin, and it'll eventually break down and turn into like a fertilizer that we can then like put on the plants that we will grow again in spring. So yeah, that's composting.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Maurizio Ananopoulos, and I wanted to show you guys the zucchini bread that we made. We picked all of the zucchini from our garden, and then later on, we spent some time in a class period, making zucchini bread in our kitchen at school, and then we got to eat it and take it home, and we shared it with some other people. And this all our data of the pounds of vegetables that we collected over all the time. And we collected over 558 pounds of produce. And yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
That's the end. Just wanted to thank everyone for listening to us and having us here today.
Wow.
Very good. How big is the club, environmental club?
Well, it is our class. And then we have probably 4 or 5 of other students that participate when they're not in other sporting events and stuff like that. Around 25.
Very impressive.
Very
Very.
impressive.
That's very
Was
impressive.
this your first entry this year in doing this?
This was our first year.
Wonderful.
Yes. It was a trial by fire.
A huge success.
Oh, yeah.
Great success and congratulations.
Are you going to continue it?
We are going to continue it each year, absolutely. We put so much effort into it and really see the benefit with the students and bring it into the school. Very, very worthwhile.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate you having us here tonight. Thank you very much.
I think, is there,
It really
anybody
speaks-
have a question?
No, just a comment. I think it's just wonderful that the students take their off summertime to maintain, to get this going, and it's quite a commitment, and they
Yeah.
should be commended for that.
Amen. Good job.
They are a wonderful group of students to work with.
If we can,
They're Westmont, of course.
if we can ask the students to please come, we're gonna, I guess our photographer wants
Hey,
to
I
take
have a
picture.
question.
Yes.
They said that they made some stuff like the zucchini bread, took it home. How many of the parents ate what you guys made?
Did you share any?
Sure, okay.
Better question.
I think we'd like to get a group shot, if we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What a wonderful
I gotta get up.
idea. Yeah, go get your picture taken.
Mr. Carey, come on.
Yeah, please, come on.
You're not going to get off that easy.
Did he like the zucchini bread? The crew.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
job.
Thanks.
Again, thank them for making that presentation.
Yeah.
I have another item. Kind of proud of this one. Miss Connie Swan is here today representing the Westmont Wildcat Football and Cheer Program. And we have good news, and I'll let Connie talk to the board about that.
This is exciting.
Hi, I'm Connie Swan. I'm one of the coordinators of the Westmont Wildcat Cheer Program. And I am very proud to announce that we again have 3 teams that have qualified to go to nationals.
Wow.
And if you guys recall, last year we came home with a first place at nationals. So this year we have our 8U team going. This is their first experience down there. We have and they received first at regionals, receiving a bid at nationals. We have our 9U team who received 3rd place at regionals out of 9 teams and has a bid to go to nationals. And then we have our reigning champions, the 14U midget squad, who won nationals last year, just took first place at regionals. 3/4 of the team is the same girls who attended last year, and they will be going to defend their title. So we will be going to Florida December 14th, which is when the national competition is. This is a great program, but moving forward with our nationals is the responsibility of the parents. So we'd like to do a lot of fundraising in the next month, and we're hoping you guys could help us out with some dates for Shake the Can, where we could go on like the corner of, I think it's Ogden and Cass Avenue. That's really, really successful for us, and we have raised a lot of money. Did that last year and a couple of years in the past, and really get a great support from the people of Westmont. So we'd like to be able to do that as many weekends as possible, Saturday and Sunday between now and then. We also will be doing a spaghetti dinner, date yet to be determined on that, where we once again go to different businesses in Westmont and ask them for donations, and we are very well supported by those businesses in Westmont. And then we have a spaghetti dinner with a sauce-off and do some live auction and silent auction. And we're able last year in a very short period of time to raise almost $10,000 to support our girls. So we're once again at our crazy fundraising time again for the Westmont Wildcat program.
And again, between the 3 teams, the coaches, the junior coaches, the coordinators, you could have 60.
I believe this year it's about I think it's 63 girls that will be going between. There's 11 girls on the 8U squad. There's 13 girls on the 9U squad, and there's 16 girls on the 14 squad. And then they have adult coaches, and then we have wonderful volunteer team coaches that will be joining the girls as well. So it's about 60 people that will be traveling to Florida to represent Westmont.
And again, they try to defer, it's about 500 a person going. So they're trying to defer that with fundraising. So, and I don't know the process. I know Police Chief Mulhern, as far as last year, what we had to do as far as authorizing the Shake the Can on intersection.
The only thing we require is that you have some type of reflective vests and like that. Let us know ahead of time your dates and times that you'll be there.
So we can do whenever we'd like?
That I have to try, and then I was going to say I had to defer to the clerk's office, as I believe the clerk's office
come into the
oversees
clerk's
it.
office, because we know if anybody's already on that corner, so
Excellent.
come in, fill out when you want to do it, and then we
Okay.
can tell you
Okay.
if those days are available.
Okay,
And they'll give you the permission there, but then they'll forward to us, but just make sure that we know as well, so.
excellent.
We're in
Oh,
Florida.
We're going to Orlando.
Oh,
Really hard place to have to go in the middle of December.
I'm going to be down there right then. Maybe I'll come watch. I'm going to be there then.
And if one of our football teams would have won last week,
Yes, they would have
they would have
qualified
been
as well.
advancing to national too. So
Yeah.
the cheer program's been very successful, and I know Connie's one of the volunteers through the years that has stayed with it and made it very successful. So, any questions?
Cool. No, it's awesome.
Okay, thank you, and
All right.
hopefully we'll be back to get some nice awards again like we did last year.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much.
Jeannie, do we as a board need to approve them being on the street?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, thank you, Connie. That is all I have this evening. Clerk Simsky.
It's been a rough week. And I just encourage everybody to keep Mayor Ron and his family in their thoughts. I'm very emotional about this for Trustee Sinek and I. He was like our brother, so. But please, just keep them in your thoughts. He was a wonderful, wonderful man, and he has a wonderful family. And other than that, all I am asking for is an executive session to review, accept, and release executive session minutes.
It's on the agenda. Attorney Zimmerman.
Just to echo Clerk Simpson's comments about Mayor Ron and express my deepest sympathy to his family, and ask for an executive session to discuss pending litigation, which is the Trout versus Westmont case and Chicago Title and Trust versus Westmont case.
Thank you. Manager Searle.
Thank you. Likewise, I'd like to offer my sympathies to the Ron family. As many of the folks here saw, and maybe at home, the slides we had on before the meeting shows the impact that Mayor Ron has had on this community, his volunteer work and his involvement in the various service clubs and the Historical Society over the years. And he's going to be sorely missed. And it's just, as Jenny said, it's been a tough week for many of us. I've known Mayor Ron since I started here back in the early 80s. So the only other thing I had was I wanted to mention, as many people know, the board approved the recreation of the Environmental Improvement Commission, and we have a press release up on the website, and we're soliciting volunteers in addition to reaching out to the previous volunteers that have been involved in it. So there is that information on the website. If you're interested, please go there. There's some contact information if you want to talk to someone, or there is a form right online that you can fill out and indicate your interest in this particular commission. It's a 9-member commission, and as soon as we have volunteers to bring forward, we'll bring those names to the board for the appointment. I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, I know that Trustee Barry is out of town this week, so Trustee Addington.
Well, Lyon Forsberg stole part of my thunder by talking about the 24th, but I also want to extend my sympathy to the Ron family. I don't know for how many years, but I sat with him and Jill and several of the other people on this board on hard wooden benches watching all of his children who were very much involved in sports at Westmont High School and very good at what they did. And it was always a pleasure to spend time with him. And 30 years is a long time to give of your life to any community, and Bill did a phenomenal job.
Trustee Scott.
Thank you. First, I'd like to congratulate the Westmont High School Fine Arts Department for last week's play, Sinbad and Alice in Wonderland. They did a wonderful job as usual, and we look forward to the spring musical. And the residents and the board not only lost a leader, but we also lost the village's most knowledgeable historian. No one knew more about Westmont than Bill Ron. And that made him an excellent choice for public office, something that he did well and was very knowledgeable in it, and he did it with honor. So I would like to extend my condolences to his family, and it was my honor to serve here on the board with him. And that's it.
Thank you. Trustee Nero.
I just would like to reiterate my deepest condolences to the Ron family as well. He's going to be missed greatly in this community. The first day I met him, he's always just been doing the best thing for Westmont, and he really was an asset to this community. With that said, I just want a couple reminders. Stormwater Committee will be meeting on Monday, November 18th at 7 p.m. And a quick little update on the Public Works Committee meeting we had. To date, we sold 164 rain barrels. The promotion is about to end November 22nd, so if anybody else wants to get one, now's your chance. And our next meeting will be February 20th of next year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Barker.
Again, condolences to the Ron family. You know, when I think of Bill Ron, I think of public service. If it wasn't for his inspiration, I wouldn't be sitting here. So I do have a couple other items here this evening. One is to thank the group of volunteers that came out for the leaf raking event. Phenomenal weekend, and I have Adam Smorkowski here in the room, and I'd like to have Adam come up. He's the guy that put the background work together to make this event happen, and he's just got a few words for us.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm always amazed at when I see our community come together for something really worthwhile. And it just touches my heart when I see that. Last Saturday, we had our leaf raking event, and it was amazing. It's probably the best way to put it. We've had over 30 volunteers of 3 organizations within Westmont come together, and we at Westmont First were very fortunate to be a part of that. The 3 organizations were Jeannie's Rotary Club, the Holy Trinity Youth Group, and District 201 students. And we thank them all for their hard work that they put into that. We at Westmont First kind of put together, sponsored a little coffee and some sweets to get the day started so your stomach felt kind of good for the volunteers. And that was donated by La Petite, Lala Lee, and Brood Awakening, and we want to thank them for helping in this worthwhile cause. I was impressed when the rolls came in and they were actually hot. You know, it was just it was very tasty. It was hard not to eat those things. That was delicious. We want to thank them. As well as Bales Hardware, they provided a lot of the leaf bags. And there were so many families that were just really thankful. I know I joined in on some of the groups that were going out, and the first house I went to ended up being a double home, and we raked, I think it was 27 bags. So my first thought was, wow, this is going to be a long day. But the volunteers, and I had there was a group of variety of people. We had a couple of students from Westmont High. We had a couple of retired people that came out, and Bruce and I were on that specific team. And it was nice to see a variety of people from our community, all ages, all different groups, come out and help the people that really needed it. I know out of the house that we did, the daughter it was a home owned by an older couple that are in wheelchairs and really couldn't handle their home, and the daughter came out and personally thanked each one of us, and she was moved by it. And that's what it's all about. I think Bruce and I talked about it later and said, you know, this is what life is truly about. So on behalf of Westmont First, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that was involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do have a couple more things here. One that didn't make the list, but the sweet rolls, the cinnamon rolls that we received from Sweet and Savory were outstanding. I know that gave me the energy to get through the day.
Sugar.
All that sugar, yeah. Nothing wrong with a little sugar. And then also, we have our next meeting of the whole of Westmont First next Wednesday here in Village Hall at 7 p.m., and that's November 20th. And we're asking everybody to participate in that. I know there's an email going out to encourage folks to come and get involved in their community. And, you know, we're kind of picking up on this phrase that together we can make a difference. And it's working that way. We also have 2 other things. One is a Shop Westmont First holiday promo that's going to go out tomorrow. And that's a business promotion for the entire town. And that's going to take place between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we're asking the businesses to participate in that. And we're asking the residents to think about purchasing Christmas needs or holiday needs here in Westmont during that time. And then the last one is something that one of our local restaurants, Neat Kitchen and Bar, put together for us, and maybe we can put that on the screen so I don't have to read it all, but they're doing a craft beers tour in conjunction with some of the other restaurants in town, and Urban Legends, which is a local brewery. And they have a craft beer tour, a bus tour, and that is $40 per person, and that takes place on the afternoon. And then on the evening, they have a dinner, and you don't have to go on the tour to participate in the dinner, but they have a dinner fundraiser there at Neat, and that is a benefit for the Westmont First program. So it's a very nice thing. It's the first of its kind in Westmont, and we encourage everybody to go to the website. Mr. McIntyre, maybe you could read that and tell us what their website is to register.
Let's see, it's www.shop.beerdogging.com.
There you go. And we have nothing to do with that. But
I have nothing to do with
that. They have these cute names that go along with their marketing, but it's a company that's working with Neat to put on something that benefits Westmont and benefits the businesses in Westmont as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Trustee Seneca.
Thank you. I too would like to convey my sympathy to the Ron family. As Jenny said, Bill was family. He was our brother, and just such wonderful, wonderful, kind man. I'm so proud to call him my friend and to call his family my family, and Bob and I are both very grateful to have known him. He certainly left Westmont a better place because he brought this community to a much higher level, and it's a level that now will just continue to soar. The thing that so many things I appreciate about Mayor Ron, but what really stands out is this man was a public servant, not a politician. And if there's anything more offensive, it's than to be a politician. It has a bad connotation. He was a public servant first and foremost, and every resident, every business, every visitor to this town can feel good because he was their advocate. And all those years of public service, words just can't even express how much he will be missed and how dearly we love him and his entire family. And thank you so much, Mayor Ron. You will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Beginning of every month, we've added to our agenda committee reports, and I'll go down the line. Administrative and Finance.
Well, the Administration and Finance Committee has been meeting, going over a lot of different things. One of them is on the agenda tonight, which is the extension of the waste management contract. We've also spent some time working on getting some information together so we can assist the Stormwater Committee on the things that they're doing, and as well as we've opened up discussion on the next budget process. So we're busy. We're going to meet again before the village board meeting, which is going to be on Tuesday, November 26th, because of Thanksgiving. So I think right now, I'm not sure exact starting time, but we're thinking around 5, maybe.
Yeah, we're hoping that maybe at 6 o'clock we may have a presentation on the one group with the stormwater for the pervial.
So, but Finance and Administration is busy. We've got a great person that works with us in Spencer, so we keep surging forward.
Thank you. Public safety.
Public safety. We just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and some of the topics that we talked about, we had a wonderful report from our police chief on drug enforcement and the different agencies that we as a community can participate in to not only fight, this war on drugs, but in many cases prove to be financially beneficial to us. So he spoke about the DEA and our possibility of perhaps participating a little more actively in that by sharing a police officer, DUMEG, which we do belong to them monetarily. We make donations to reap those benefits, and we work with that group. And then, of course, our own Westmont Police Department and our efforts here. So we had a nice presentation on that. We also covered with our fine fire chief, we talked about the consolidated dispatch and how that's been going since we made the transition and now share services with Downers Grove. It's been pretty transparent to our residents. It's been great service, and we get regular reports on that. And lastly, we talked about the upcoming ambulance purchases, because we certainly want to continue to have this state-of-the-art equipment for our services and our residents. So we talked about that coming up in the next budget year. So that was that.
Thank you.
It's a good meeting.
Public Works.
I apologize, Mayor, I jumped ahead of you. It won't happen again. I said it earlier, but just to reiterate, we just had a brief meeting before this meeting. Our next meeting will be in February 20th of next year. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have anything on public information?
Well, we haven't had our meeting, and I do have a couple announcements, but we were planning on trying maybe that Tuesday, the 26th, but we'll postpone and have it another time. First of all, I want to remind everybody that there is a Coffee with the Mayor, Saturday, November 30th, 11 a.m. at La Petite Suite. And the holidays, small business, Saturday parade, tree lighting, Picks with Santa, and of course the Rotary 5K all take place starting at 9 on Saturday, November 30th too. So we'll do the 5K and then the coffee and then
shop all day downtown.
Shop all day
and then a parade at 5 o'clock.
So.
Thank you. Code enforcement.
Nothing at this time.
And since Trustee Barry's not here, we don't have anything on building and zoning, and I'm going to ask Assistant Manager Steve May on Stormwater Committee to talk about the possibility at 6 o'clock on the 26th of having a presentation.
Later on the agenda, we'll have a thorough discussion about the update that the Stormwater Committee gave to the Village Board back on October 24th. The one topic that came up was additional interest expressed about the green infrastructure philosophy and the management, or as a direction to proceed, and there was a lot of interest in getting more information on that. The best way to get the information on that is to have a similar presentation from the consultant that the consultant gave to both the committee and to staff prior to that. And the mayor's suggestion, it was the Tuesday meeting that we have scheduled has no committee meeting before that, and that's an opportunity if the consultant is available to maybe give that presentation to the board in advance of the village board meeting. I don't know if it would be a special meeting or we could work out the details how to do that, but to have that same evening, and you can all hear that presentation. It's a good quick way to get into it. Otherwise, we would have to be looking for a date for a special meeting.
I think if we did it at 6 o'clock, we would actually televise it, so the public could get some information on it.
Right.
So,
good idea.
If we decide to do that, we'll make sure everybody's aware of it and we publish it. Thank you. Agenda item 7, items to remove from the consent agenda. Are there any board members requesting that items be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none on the consent agenda, Manager Searle, would you please read?
Sure. The items under the consent agenda include the October 31st Village Board meeting minutes, Finance Ordinance number 15 in the amount of $1,374,747.98, and then the following purchase orders: PO 11032190 to Morton Salt in the amount of $50,000, PO 11032230 to Don Morris Architects in the amount of $39,870.93, and then PO 11032192 to the Park District for landscape services in the amount of $25,000, and PO 11032213 to Global Emergency Products in the amount of $21,762, And finally, the last purchase order is PO 1103-2221 to Affordable Roofing in the amount of $18,932. So the total amount of both the finance ordinance and the purchase orders is $1,530,312.91.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Trustee Addington, motion to approve.
Second, Scott.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any of the board members, anybody in the audience have any questions? If not, Clerk Simsky, may we please have the roll?
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Agenda item number 9, unfinished business, waste management contract renewal. Village Board to consider an ordinance extending the current waste management solid waste and recycling collection contract for 5 additional years. Manager Searle, please read.
At the Village Board Special Administration Finance Committee meeting on the 14th, they discussed, the board discussed extending the current waste contract for 5 years. We had additional discussion this evening at the Public Works Committee meeting, and part of that discussion included the option of potentially freezing commercial rates for 1 year. We discussed several different options in the committee meeting. I think I'll just outline the different options that were proposed. Initially, what Waste Management proposed was a 1-year increase in the amount of 3% with 2 to 5 year pricing that would be capped at 2 to 4% or CPI. This program proposal also includes an expanded yard waste program that allows residents to place out bundled brush at no additional charge. And then there were several other things that were talked about at the committee that involved additional costs, an optional recycle bank service, and also an optional residential at your door service that included household hazardous waste collection as well as electronics. And I think the concurrence of the committee discussion was to go with the original proposal, although we didn't have all the board members there. So at this point, I guess I'll stop talking and let the board have further discussion.
The original proposal also provided a brush pickup.
Yes.
On a weekly basis, which would be included, and we were looking at 3% across the board this initial first year, which would be both for commercial and. Is there anything you want to bring, anybody, Representative Mike from Waste Management? Anything you'd like to add to that? Are we missing something? You can come up to the podium.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I think you got all the points right on. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Incidentally, there was the fluorescent light bulb recycling kits and the Sharps kiosk. That was kind of a free service, I guess. Maybe you can mention that.
Correct. I think there was 5 boxes of fluorescent light bulb kits, so residents can bring some bulbs into Village Hall to have them recycled. And then we're also offering a kiosk for Sharps for residents that inject either themselves or their pets. Rather than disposing them in the trash where they can be dangerous, we'll give you the kiosk and the containers that you can hand out to the residents, and they can dispose of them properly.
And if I could just, maybe Mike could talk a little bit. I know something that comes up time and time again is, can we have an amnesty day? Can we have an amnesty day? And I think if we could maybe do a better job of educating our residents about how every week they can leave a large item.
Correct.
If you could just maybe highlight that a little bit.
The current agreement allows each household to put out 1 large item per week. Typically, if a municipality has something like that in their contract, they don't go to the extra lengths and steps of having an amnesty day because you're able to get rid of that stuff throughout the year.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis, rather than if you had an amnesty day, then you're looking at everybody putting the material out at the curb.
Right.
We have about 20 trucks in town on a Saturday, along with probably about 50 junkers also going around and picking through stuff.
But it's good to know. I just wanted people to know that you can put a large item out every week.
Every week.
So,
Can you explain the brush pickup too, please?
Sure.
We're aware of it, but
The brush pickup, we're going to take the brush pickup on ourselves. The regulations on that is the material has to be broke down no longer than 4 foot in length and 2 foot in diameter. That's just so it can fit in the back of the truck, and it needs to be either twined or somehow connected together so the driver can pick it up and throw it in the back. And that'll be on a weekly basis too. I think the brush pickup now occurs twice a year, so this will be a lot more convenient for the residents as well.
Can I ask you about the fluorescent bulb boxes?
Yes, sir.
Is this for the small ones, or are we talking about 4-footers?
We can have a mix. Typically, it's the small ones, but we can have a couple of large boxes as well.
oh, good.
Well, I guess that's one of the questions is
Yeah.
that's a hazard going into the landfills, but we really don't do much for recycling, and then the cost of sending it by mail back to a recycler, no one does it. I mean, I hate to say it's cost prohibitive, and everything just goes in the trash and they get broke. So is there,
Yeah.
I think that's something we just have to look at in the future somehow, is for people who've got them in their garage, in their basement.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do about businesses, but, you know, the small ones are fine. You can take those to Home Depot and drop them off and all that, but the bigger issue is the longer ones.
Yeah. So if we
We're,
can get the big boxes, that'd be great.
We're looking into, I know from maybe a cooperative effort between the village, the park, and the school district. There's actually, I hate to say it's a fluorescent bulb shredder.
I've seen that, where you just put it in there and it eats it up.
Yeah, and it shreds
Yeah.
in a 55-gallon drum, and then you just pay to have that taken away. So that may be something we can look in as a municipality.
We can give that to the new environmental commission.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
Trustee Addington.
Yeah, one other thing. We also did talk about the household hazardous waste, and did we want to change what we're doing now and to add that on as another service that would happen at your home? The answer is, for now, I think we decided to leave it as is, because if we stop doing what we're doing now, that would eliminate the commercial businesses from doing that monthly drop-off. And from what Steve May told us in the meeting earlier, the last few times we've had like 7,000 pounds of this stuff that has been dropped off. So that's open for more discussion later. We said we will keep looking at it, but for now, we're going to keep the household hazardous waste the way we're doing it, which includes or keeps the business people included in that, which I think is the right way to go.
And again, there would have been an additional fee.
Yeah, would have been an additional fee for that,
which we
that's
felt
right.
wasn't appropriate at this time. So, any questions from anybody in the public? If not, entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Trustee Addington, motion to approve.
Second, Nero.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions from the trustees? Seeing none, Clerk Simsky, may we please have a roll call?
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Okay. Been approved for another 5 years. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unfinished B, request for approval of change in plans, number 2, the final. Board to consider an ordinance approving a request for approval of change in plans, change order number 2 and final for the 2012 motor fuel tax, number 12-00103-00-RX. S. Manuel Cyril, please read.
On August 20th, 2012, the 2012 MFT resurfacing project was awarded to Central Blacktop of LaGrange, Illinois, in the amount of $728,582.12, approximately 15% below the engineering estimate of $858,272. The current budget for the project was $900,000. Construction was completed, and the final quantities measured reflects a net increase of about $51,592.12. It's approximately 7%. It added approximately 7% to the contract. A majority of the increases are related to necessary curb and sidewalk replacements that were done in addition to the required restoration. And this is being presented to the board, and we recommend approval.
Any staff comments on this?
I guess I could just add, when contracts are bid and awarded, they're called what's unit price based. So they bid individually on the price per ton of asphalt, the length of curb to be replaced, and they give you a unit price. These, after it's in place, you actually measure how much was put in, the tonnage, and that's where the change order is derived. It's from actually verified quantities in the field, and that's what we pay against. And because it's motor fuel tax, it requires village board attention to approve the resolution because you only awarded it up to the amount of the original contract amount.
Any public questions? Not, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve Barker.
Second, Seneca?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more comments or questions from the trustees? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Thank you. Under new business, A, 237 North Cass, Oakwood Lighting. Board to consider ordinances approving the following request from Oakwood Lighting at 237 North Cass Avenue in the B1 Limited Business District. 1, a variance request to reduce the required side yard setback and rear yard setback for a parking lot. 2, site and landscaping plan approval for the parking lot. And 3, parking stall size and aisle width waiver. Manager Searle.
Applicant is requesting a side yard and rear yard setback variance in order to be able to reconfigure the existing parking lot more efficiently for parking and loading, while also re-engineering existing stormwater detention basin in the rear lot. This is before the Planning and Zoning Commission on October 9th, and they made a unanimous recommendation for approval, confirming the changes would be an improvement to the site and making the building more usable.
And the petitioners are here. Would you like to comment on it?
We're just here to answer any questions if you have any. And
Any public questions? Any questions? Seeing none, if there's no questions, we're going to need 3 different motions. We need a motion to approve item number 1.
I will make a motion to approve the variance request to reduce the required side yard setback and the rear yard setback.
Second, Scott.
Motion's been made and seconded. No questions. Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Do I have a motion on item 2?
So move, Seneca?
Second, Nero.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Do I have a motion on the line item 3?
So move, Scott.
Second, Addington.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Thank you. All 3 have been approved.
It's great to see the sign up there. So happy you guys are getting
Yeah.
settled, and
Thank you very much.
Very good.
glad you chose to stay in
Yes.
Westmont. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. B, proposed aggregate property tax levy. Board to consider a motion determining the proposed aggregate tax levy as required by the Truth in Taxation Act. Manager Searle.
On October 14th, the Administration Finance Committee reviewed this, talked about the tax cap law allows revenues to increase by CPI, which is 1.7%, and new growth. To capture this new growth, it is typical to levy a 5% increase. The proposed aggregate levy is $8,084,746, which includes the police pension, village operating funds, and library funds. Police pension contribution figures increased over last year due to changes in assumptions, and this increase can be funded without reducing general fund revenues.
And we have
our
our
Finance Director, Spencer Parker.
Would you like to add to that? And
Sure. Just to provide a little bit of additional clarification, as the board will recall from the Administration Finance Committee meeting, one of the variables that was still up in the air that we didn't know yet was the amount of the recommended contribution to the police pension fund. And we knew that it had dropped significantly last year and figured it would be increasing to some extent this year. We didn't know how much of an increase it would be. The amount that we did find out, the amount that it's increasing, it is a significant amount above what the recommended amount was last year, but it's not a large amount above what we had ended up levying last year. We had levied enough to provide the bare minimum and then some additional money last year. And so the increase this year is not significantly above that. But the reason for that increase in the police pension was the actuaries have been updating their statistics and the tables they use to make these determinations. Previously, the statistics that were used to determine how long people would live and how much we need to put away for that were based on tables that were prepared in the 1970s. And there's a study in the 1980s that was done that said, yeah, we think these tables done in the 70s are still accurate. As you can imagine, there's been a little bit of advance in technology since the 1970s and the 1980s, and people are living a little bit longer, and so because of that, there was that increase. The amount of the increase turned out to be just barely under the total amount that we would be able to get from the inflationary amount. So the police pension levy is one portion of our levy, as you're aware. We've got several different pieces of the levy, and we get the 1.7% increase on all of those different pieces. When we take all of that money that we get for the total increase of the 1.7, the extra money that needed to go on top of the police pension came to about $10,000 less than what that extra 1.7% amount would be. So, and as you'll also recall, last year we had kind of had our Social Security levy drop a little bit. We had some excess cash, and so we didn't need quite as much last year. So the proposal would be to put the $10,000 extra into that Social Security amount, not have any increase or decrease in the general fund revenues. I know at the Administration Finance Committee meeting, we're thinking we'd potentially be able to have a modest increase in those revenues. While we'll be levying for that in case we do have enough under new construction, the anticipation going forward into the budget will be no change in the general fund revenues for the property taxes. The amount that the library is looking at levying is $1.78 million or so. If there's any questions on the library levy, we do have Julia Cohen, our interim library director, here to answer any of those questions. I don't know if there's any questions on the library or anything else with the village.
Trustee Addington.
I just have one. This is more of an educational question for me. The two TIF districts.
Yes.
They're included in this levy?
The way that the TIF districts will work will be what the county will do is they will take whatever the value of the properties were this year, when we implemented the TIF, whatever they were, and for the purposes of calculating how much the tax rate's going to be for the amount we levy, they'll say, assume that amount stayed the same and didn't increase and didn't grow. So for our levy, as well as the levies that are done by any other taxing body, the calculation on the rate for the properties is going to be based on what the value was of those TIF districts as the TIFs at the beginning of the TIF district.
Right.
So that'll be frozen as it was to determine the rate. And then what will happen is we'll get our additional revenue from all of the properties, including the ones in the TIF, for that portion of it. And then as our rates applied to the increment in the TIF, that rate, our rate as well as all the other taxing bodies' rates, that applies to the growth in the equalized assessed value or the property value would all go into the TIF fund, assuming there is growth.
I'm glad we got Spencer here. Because he understands. Thank you. No, I thank you.
Again, the CPI 1.7, and then we get that plus any new growth.
Yep.
And then, again, like Trustee Addington was saying, if the TIF district represents 5% of our tax base, the other 95% will make up that 1.7 for us. So we're still going to get the 1.7 across the entire community.
Yep.
Any additional questions from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved, Scott.
Second, Addington.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any additional questions?
Just a comment to point out, this notice will be published in the newspaper coming up, and there will be a public hearing on this, on the tax levy in December. It's
Sorry, let me
12th.
pull that up. I believe that is the plan. It's, yes, the first meeting in December, December 12th. Yes. Yep.
Any other additional comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Thank you, Spencer. Agenda item C, community-wide music license. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing an annual agreement with BMI for the community-wide music license. Manager Searle.
Well, this particular contract comes up annually because of our speaker system and the music that we put out through the community and in our buildings. Throughout the community where we have speakers and in our buildings, we're required to execute this agreement and license that music. And this will be paid for out of hotel motel tax funds. The annual cost is not that great, but it is a contract. It's $327 a year.
Any questions? And I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve Barker.
Second, Nero.
Motion been made and seconded. Seeing no questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
D, Community Stormwater Management Committee Report. Board to consider a motion to officially accept the Stormwater Management Committee Report. Manager Searle.
Well, as we discussed at the last meeting, on October 24, 2013, the Stormwater Committee presented a report to the board at a special meeting. Staff is requesting direction to formally develop those recommendations, so we had suggested that we put on this agenda 2 items, one to accept this report, and then a second one to have, which is the next one regarding the stormwater utility. And I'd be happy at this point to either turn it over to Steve, or I don't know, Larry wants to give an overview.
Is any of this, Steve is being the chair of that committee. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I mean, this is just to accept it and to adopt it as something that we're going to use moving forward. So
I think we were all impressed with that report, so I would entertain a motion to accept it.
Motion to accept Addington.
Second, Nero.
Motion is made and seconded. Any additional questions? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Agenda item E under new business is the second part of that, stormwater utility development. Board to consider a motion to give staff and the Stormwater Management Committee direction to research the possible development of a stormwater utility. Manager Searle.
Staff is currently seeking authorization to conduct a feasibility study for developing a stormwater utility. As was mentioned earlier this evening, we had a Public Works Committee meeting where the committee reviewed a draft request for qualifications, which our Director of Public Works has been preparing, and got the committee's direction to go ahead and issue that. As I alluded to a few minutes ago, we wanted to put this on as a separate item for public awareness and discussion. We're not acting tonight to create the stormwater utility. We have to come back to the board with information regarding the RFQ, and at that point, the board will make a decision as to whether or not you want to go forward with hiring a consultant to look at a study to push forward in creating the stormwater utility. At this point, I'll turn it over to the Public Works Director if he has any other thoughts, or we can answer questions from the board and the public.
Just briefly, the request for qualifications, assuming there's interest in doing that, would be issued and solicit qualifications from consultants that would help us do, we're calling it a feasibility study, but it's also like a needs assessment. It'll help us inventory the state of our system and what our needs are and what we have in place and other things we'll need to develop, and help us prepare the estimate for moving forward. The second phase of the, if you want to call it the study, would be the actual implementation, where you would develop the utility, do all the public information and feedback process before you actually instituted a utility. So the phase one is just to get everything itemized and give us a sample rate analysis and for our makeup of our community.
Trustee Addington.
Again, as we go forward with this, as I've indicated before, I think we need to be sure that we get as much information out into the general public and back again. At Bob Scott's meeting last week for economic development, I asked that committee to ponder between now and the next time they meet the impact that doing this or not doing this would have on economic development in the village. So we're going to continue to get the message out to as many people as we can and seek input.
Very good. And I know that this is the first step. There's other things you're already considering along with this.
Yes.
Would you like to mention a
well,
couple?
This step with the utility addresses the revenue component of administering a master stormwater plan or stormwater management plan. The committee did have, backing up a little bit to the previous item, they gave us 7 recommendations, of which we are going to move forward with, either develop further or come back with some fine-tuned recommendations or implement possibly even ordinances. And of those 7 recommendations, the 7th one was the stormwater utility. Did you want to go through what the other recommendations
You could
were?
quickly just go through.
Firstly, to issue the RFQ, regarding the stormwater utility. The second item was adopt new stormwater management policies, and these would be policies such as annual inspections we would do not only of public stormwater management systems but private as well. And looking into that, we have to evaluate the staff requirements and needs with that as well. Consider and adopt a new stormwater management policies as it pertains to employing dedicated personnel to administer the stormwater management plan that we will ultimately have. Fourth recommendation was consider and adopt new codes and ordinances as they pertain to potentially, right now there are very stringent development restrictions for properties that are in a mapped floodplain, and these are FEMA restrictions, and we will be looking into the feasibility of, if you want to think of it as declaring local floodplain areas. So we have our own local depressional flooding areas that have certain features that should be afforded the same restrictions for their protection and the protection of the neighboring properties as well. So, but right now the FEMA regulations only apply to the mapped floodplain. We are going to look at the unmapped areas that we know that we have a problem in. So we'll have to identify and inventory those. The 5th recommendation was also an ordinance consideration, had to do with what we would call freeboard, or the protection of how high you allow new construction to be built relative to the measured high water level that you already know, and the factor of safety, whether it's 1 foot as we have it now, or 2 foot or 3 foot, and make it greater. There's certainly merit to doing that, but there's also pros and cons with that approach, because one quick example is the homes now that already look like they're standing way too high relative to the neighbors based on the floodplain information. Do we want to make those even higher? So those types of things have to be looked at closely, so be working with the committee further on reviewing those. 6th item was consider and approve a resolution to the county board that, in short, would want to convey our interest in not duplicating any efforts that we would be doing with our stormwater utility and have it compounded by the county doing the same thing. They are in the process of forming a utility right now. We do know that they're going to be soliciting public opinion as soon as January, but we want to make sure they get our feedback quickly, and these items that I said would be like the committee would be working on will be, I've already seen them on the agenda for the meeting that's scheduled for next Monday night.
Good. Thank you. And I don't know if Larry, do you have anything else to add? I think the first step, of course, is the passing this motion tonight to get this thing going. Anybody in the audience have a question? Yes, come on up and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Joe Hernsirk, and my family resides at 224 East Naperville Road here in the village of Westmont. We have done so for the past 38 years. My daughter also lives in the vicinity of 55th and Hudson with her family. And I specifically want to address the fee structure versus a property tax. As I said, I would come forward during the past meeting. While I understand the need to begin the need to begin to address the funding of our stormwater issue, to begin funding the mitigation of the myriad of our stormwater issues, and do realize that user fee is the most expeditious funding methodology available to the Village of Westmont, I still believe that a stormwater is a village, township, and countywide issue and should be ultimately addressed by property tax and special assessments rather than a utility fee. Many of the flooding problems that were created by the libertarian ways our villages, towns, and county were developed in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s with little, if any, regard to the environmental impact that the development had on flooding, transportation, or other resource needs. This is just one of the many ways we are paying for the actions of our forefathers. I can easily show two examples where homes and commercial buildings were built on wetlands that should have remained open space right here in the village of Westmont, within 5 minutes of here. By eventually funding these projects via specific property tax, the property owners and residents will be able to benefit from the tax status of the bonds issues by having dedicated tax resource. Deduct the taxes from their state and federal income taxes. A further benefit of taxing will protect the charities from potentially crippling fees that face those in Downers Grove, as was noted in today's Downers Grove edition of the Chicago Trib, which just came down. I don't know if you saw the article, but certainly many people are really upset by what Downers did, how Downers is handling it. Certainly these fees impact our churches, schools, and charities and should be considered when implementing the fee. I would also recommend the DuPage County Board consider using the dedicated property tax to provide the local portion of stormwater issue mitigation rather than a user fee for the same reasons. I do applaud the village board and the staff for addressing this issue rather than kicking the can down the road like the Illinois State Legislature is doing with the pension crisis, and I do have a copy for the record. And basically, I know you have to go forward. I know we need to fund this. So if there's a minimum fee to get this project going, that's great. But if we get into big projects, I think it needs to go into taxes. And that's basically my viewpoint.
Oh, thank you,
And I have a
Joe.
copy for the clerk here.
Thank you.
The police chief will bring it up. We got to give him something to do.
They're all good points, and the actually part of the language in the RFQ is to make the consultant look at that sample analysis and make a recommendation as the best way to proceed, or multiple ways to proceed with the pros and cons of each.
So either way,
type.
okay.
There was one other item, we talked about the forced inspections, and I should also mention there was a proactive maintenance component in the recommendations as well, as far as getting out and, for example, jetting and or televising, doing internal inspections of the storm sewers and inventorying that village-wide, and that is something we are looking into, both the merits of doing that by contract in bulk for a very large amount, or dedicating personnel, which would be new personnel, to do that on a basis with the equipment we already have.
Okay, good, thank you. Any additional questions from the public? Board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to to give staff and the Stormwater Management Committee direction to research the possible development of a stormwater utility.
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Addington.
Motion is made and seconded. Any additional questions? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Thank you. New business F, Westmont First, Westmont Cares Community Giving Initiative. Board to hear a presentation from the Westmont First Committee to review the creation of a Westmont Cares, a not-for-profit corporation. Manager Searle.
This grew out of a discussion back on November 6th. It was a subgroup meeting of the Westmont Cares initiative. The idea was to talk about creating something similar to a community chess program. We looked at one such program that Geneva, Illinois has. It's been around for about 40 years. And in your packet is a memo that I had prepared discussing the concept of creating a 103C not-for-profit and what would need to be done to do that, similar to what we've done with the Westmont Special Events Corporation. And I believe we do have a representative here this evening to actually make a presentation to the board regarding this concept.
Trustee Barker would like to introduce.
Mr. Shane Johnson from Sweet and Savory Spot. He's one of the core team members on Westmont First, and he's here to talk about that. He has some experience in this area.
Very good. Welcome.
Thank you. I think when we look at Westmont First Committee and what we're trying to do, I think we need to look at the mission that we're trying to get across. Obviously, this is still open for discussion, but I thought I'd read a caption to kind of give you an idea of the thinking that we have so far. So as this reads, the Westmont First Committee's mission is to bring together residents, local business, and government in order to foster a community spirit that will help support Westmont. This will be accomplished through volunteer opportunities, local business promotion and patronage, and local events. Through our team efforts, Westmont First will fund a community chest. This will help support our local charities who help take care of our residents in need. Together we can make a difference. Think Westmont First. So given that and what we look to accomplish, I think it makes sense that we have to go to a non-for-profit status. This will give us an advantage also when we're going out to try and get sponsorships and donations, giving them an immediate benefit also for supporting us. Some of the stuff that we're going to be doing is trying to stay in front of the, I guess, be very visible almost on a monthly basis. So there are 3 different subsets off of Westmont First. One is the volunteer, which we've already witnessed with the leaf raking. The other one would be a fundraising aspect. And then the third one would be also the local business promotion. Ideally, we'd like to see 4, I want to use the term loosely, events for each one of them, giving something happening every month, giving us great visibility to everybody of what's going on. And with that, we look to grow not only a database of volunteers to help on numerous things, but also to bring everybody together and support whatever events, whatever thing we have going on in Westmont. The easiest thing to do, as Ron can attest to, is on the accounting method. Given our successes that we will have on this, we want to make sure that the funds would be protected to go to the charities, and obviously setting up the 501c3 would help us in doing that. This would, like I said, also help us in covering a budget right now, which we really have yet to establish. But a couple events that we've got kind of on the horizon. One is an Ale Fest. This will be coming up. We're looking for a date next fall. Totally ran by a group, and they're doing the local beer pub crawl, the craft beer tour with coming up here. But they are going to organize this event. They've got a great history of doing that. They did the Lyle Ale Fest. They've helped out in Naperville with theirs. They help out with the Midwest Brewers Fest, and have done a great job. And they will bring in outside people to Westmont. Obviously, this is what we want too. We want to showcase what we have here. So they're going to be bringing that in and also helping support our committee with, donation and paying into us for the services that we're going to be rendering. Following that and going into 2015, we'll be looking at another event we like to call Burger Battle, which would be like a competition for the restaurants and everything to have the best burger in the area. And the reason we put that out to 2015, that would give us time to build the database of the committee and the volunteers and that type of thing and get us well structured, because that event we would run ourselves. We're looking to run, side by side with Special Events Committee. We're not looking to take away from them. We're looking to enhance them and hopefully work together with them. So there's a few of the notes I have. I open it up to any questions or anything.
I think this, again, this notion of like a community chest has been thrown around for years between some of the service clubs, and I don't think it's ever gotten off the ground. And this is, I think, the first attempt that we're trying to create this 501c where the donations can come in, and corporations look for that to give. So without it, we're not going to be able to receive a lot of donations. So I don't know if the attorney has any advice or.
Well, sounds like a great idea, and I think a 501c3 corporation is definitely the way to handle that. You're on the right track. To get started as a 501c3, it's not simply a matter of filing some documents with the Secretary of State. I don't know if you've had any conversations or investigation into that, but between the IRS letter, which I talked to my tax corporate partner who does this for some not-for-profits, it's like a $3,000 to $4,000 project just to figure out what your business plan is, what you're trying to accomplish, and get acknowledgement by the IRS that you're a proper 501c3, and then have an accountant, look over what you're doing every year. There is some expense, and so my question in talking to the village manager is, you guys are going to need some seed money to take care of things like that just to get up and running. And then we also talked about, the village's ability to contribute. The village can't just take public funds and give them to a not-for-profit corporation or for-profit corporation. But to the extent this corporation has activities which promote tourism and overnight stays, hotel motel tax money is a source of revenue authorized by state statute that the village could contribute to this purpose.
Additional question, Trustee Barker, you have anything to add?
Yeah, and I just, that from our workshop the other night, we were talking about the charities and helping the local charities, and we had Hank Anzalone from the People's Resource Center there, and he was telling us that we had 490 residents in Westmont that he helps on a monthly basis. So there's a need here, and that's just, that's one group that we've talked to, and we're going to get background on others, but obviously it's something that's, this group is very passionate about, and I know that you and I have had conversations about these particular cases where we can help them, and we'd want to do that. So hopefully this will all work out.
Again, it's for discussion only this evening. So does anybody else have anything to ask, comment on? Anybody from the
I think it's a great idea.
public? Again, this has been thrown around. I don't think anybody ever took the initiative to organize it like you're doing now. So I think it's a tremendous idea. A lot of people do fall between the cracks as far as assistance in the community. So.
Right. Well, I think we need to point out too with what we're going to be doing with the money and funding these, is that we're going to look for the charities that are already helping our community. I mean, we're not looking to try and reinvent the wheel or trying to establish something new. We want to take what's already out there and what's already successful and just help it, enhance it. And one thing we can do with that money is that we can dedicate that money. We can, when we give the gift, we can tell the charity, this is what it's for. And so then, and in return, that's what they have to use it for. And so.
Great idea.
I like it.
Yeah. No further. Appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks, Shane. New business G, home rule referendum. Board to discuss resolution number 13-6 61 that urges a November 2014 election referendum question on home rule status. Manager Searle.
Back in April of this year, the last sitting village board passed a resolution asking the new board to consider placing a home rule referendum question on the ballot in November of 2014. The mayor asked if this item and the next item could be put on the agenda to begin those discussions, and that is really the purpose.
I requested, yes, to be put on here because 3 of us, or 4, were not part of the resolution, so not only to put it up here so maybe the board members that are still here can enlighten us a little bit. We understand the reasoning for it, and just to begin discussion, because if something like this is going to be followed through on, it needs to be acted on probably in the next 6 months.
Yes.
So,
boy, it's such a wide topic, and I know for me, I feel that since we've lost home rule, there's sort of been an educational swing. I've had people come up to me that have said, wow, I really didn't understand how much this was going to impact us. And what can we get it back? You know, what do we need to do? Clearly, it wasn't something that was abused, and I think it was very misunderstood. I think we had a lot of scare tactics out there, people that didn't even live in our community, you know, came into town and sort of scared people into, you know, turning it down. So I really think that there is a need to put it back on the ballot. I think it's a revenue source that we desperately need, especially with all that's going on in the community. I know that, you know, last time, and it wouldn't be any different this time, John, I assume. It's not something we can promote one way or another, but we can certainly do educational seminars again, correct?
Correct.
And, you know, if a Westmont First or another committee wants to run with it, they could legally, correct?
Not a village committee, but a non-affiliated public interest group or group of residents or whatever can run
Okay,
with
so like a group of residents or something. And I think there's enough people out there that now realize the value of something like this. That's just my own thought, but I would like to see it go on.
And that's the reason we have it on, is to
Yeah,
get feedback
I
tonight.
definitely,
It's
I still
discussion
feel
only.
as strongly today about it as I did back then.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a very powerful tool. I'm in favor of home rule, you know, and prior, when we discussed this last, I thought it'd be very important to put it on, but after having a few conversations, I throw this out there as it might be too soon to put it back on again, and I want to put it on and I want it to pass. So I want to, and I'm just, again, throwing this out there as maybe we put it in the back burner and wait till the next opportunity, just to give us that education time, to get the word out there. I just want to leave it at that.
Bear in mind, though, the next opportunity after this would be 2016, and then just 4 years later, there's another census. So, and in the meantime, it's a substantial amount of lost money. I mean, we were talking, what, $2 million? And if the economy hadn't swung in a positive direction, it would have been even more. So I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. I think, to me, there's a sense of urgency, but again, it's just me.
You've got, no doubt, an education that has to be done, because you had 800 people who voted who didn't vote on it.
It didn't even answer the question.
They voted on everything else.
Everything but not that.
Well,
On
and
that
then-
one, and 800 people in this town,
Well,
that's a lot of people
and then there's
that didn't understand it.
And then there's an even bigger issue in that we have 13,400 registered voters, and in a big election, maybe 3,000 people vote. So
And in
there's-
an off-year election?
Oh, 1,800. So we need to really light a fire under our residents and let them understand how incredibly important their vote is in everything.
I'll agree with Trustee Seneca on the comments that I've heard, is that I've heard more, I didn't understand it, and I wish I'd have known different, then I'm glad I voted against it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
No one
There
has
was-
said to me, oh, am I
No.
glad I voted against it. I'm
No,
sure there are
not at
people
all.
that,
It's
I'm sure there are
been-
people that are happy,
It's
but
been the opposite. It's
Many of
just
them.
How come you guys couldn't tell us? And
We
when you try to
couldn't.
explain it to them,
Yeah.
you know, they say, well, that's a screwy rule. Why would, you know,
Yeah.
but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You just don't have a choice on the matter.
Trustee Addington.
Well, I don't think anybody has any doubt about my prior position with regard to this. However, I asked Ron Cyril a couple of questions that he was going to check on, and we may not have that answer tonight because that was a discussion earlier, and that's how many binding referendums can go on any one election that we would want to do.
Right, that's a great question. When this came up with these two issues, I thought the same thing, because there is a timing requirement. How early can you get it on, and as well as what's the cutoff? I think it's 3.
Okay.
I think you looked into that when we had the conversation about these 2 referendums, because
Yeah.
that came up, and it was 3.
Okay. I think there is an awful lot that has been discussed with regard to some of these issues with regard to home rule, what was lost, and what could be gained with some of the new initiatives that we're doing. Yeah, and so I think we have to go forward with this thing, at least from the standpoint of doing the research. I'm not sure I disagree with Trustee Nero as far as the timing, but I guess my recommendation would be this probably belongs with Finance and Administration, and I would ask that it be given to my committee and let us start holding some hearings and secure some feedback. But what I would need from John would be, what's our timing if we want to get this, if we want to do this for November of 2014?
The cutoff's going to be sometime in August at the latest to
Of
get it on.
2014?
Correct.
So we have a
For the
little bit of
November.
time to.
But
I thought it was.
Okay.
I think what we really want to know is what's the earliest we can get it on, so that, you know, you're not trumped by other referendum questions that the public has the ability to throw on there.
So those 3 isn't just Westmont, that could be, if the county had one,
No, that's just within the community.
okay.
John, I thought we had to
But if
do it
there's a whole
6
bunch,
months
they may
before
all
the
get shut
election.
down.
90 days, I believe.
It's only 90 days?
I believe it's 90
Okay,
days.
I thought I remembered us
it's as
having the
early as
conversation.
I
it was
think,
6
I think
months.
John just touched on something, you know, if all of a sudden one of our school systems decided to do like a tax increase, and then, you know, the Park District wanted to do a tax increase, and all of a sudden we come back at the same time with a home rule question. It's
All they're
gonna-
reading,
Yeah.
they're not going to do it.
So I think that you raise a good point. If you could kind of give us an idea of where we are with this, and then, Mayor, if you so desire, we'll start holding hearings and secure some public comment and at least take this thing forward, because I think it has to. And again, no one should ever complain or not want to put something in front of the voters. And whatever they decide, they
I
decide.
don't think anybody should
thing
complain that
I
doesn't
just
vote.
clarify is,
I mean,
you know, I'm.
But they all do.
I'm completely in
Bet they do.
support of home rule. I just hate to see the village go through what we did last time. We put a lot of effort, staff put in a lot of effort, and it was for nothing. We didn't get it. So I guess what I'm looking for is a good plan of attack on how we're gonna convey this message that we're all hearing. I mean, I don't hear any negatives towards it either, but I just wanna make sure it's done right, so it, you know, it can pass.
we're gonna do it,
Because I hate to see
right, yeah.
another shot in the foot, and it doesn't pass, and then what? It's
Well-
kinda like a game then, we just keep constantly putting it back on, where, you know, at one point, you gotta listen, so I'll leave it at that.
No, and the reason it's on here, and the reason I wanted just to hear what we're talking about now, and then to definitely put it into committee so that we can get public input.
Start
But
talking about it.
Trustee Barker, you have anything to?
Yeah, my thought on it is, you know, it's a tool. You know, it takes so much revenue to run this village and give the residents what they need. And, you know, it's money, to me, it's money lost that has to be made up in other ways, and we've spent the last 6 months trying to find other ways, you know, to cover these things. And I wouldn't do it. I want to make this town better, and.
It costs money.
It costs money, exactly.
Oh, and, you know, when you delay things like vehicle replacement, and, you know, we made some hard choices to compensate for that, and, you know, you can only do that for so long, and then everything crumbles.
Yeah.
To some extent, some of the things you all have said to me in these meetings or in some of the committee meetings has been the non-revenue issues that have created some problems for our community.
Watch the budget meetings. Watch the budget meetings and watch what we go through just to put together a budget to make this community run for a year. And it's about stretching that dollar and stretching it some more and stretching it some more. And it gets to a point where it doesn't.
But purely from a practical standpoint, I think the staff, we did a good job stretching the dollar. And it caused us to really take a look at everything and then eliminate some of the things that weren't the necessities, but yet still provide the program, the services to the community. And again, this is just discussion tonight. I wanted to hear the feedback from the 3 trustees that passed that resolution, and we're going to have a lot of public input. My feeling is if it does go to a referendum, no would mean no or yes would mean yes. I mean, I don't see us doing this till it passes. No, if by some chance
Lessons learned.
The decision was to ask the community, that would be it, whatever the decision was, if we decide to do that. At this time, anybody in the public would like to comment? So this is discussion
only.
If not, it's nothing on the agenda for action tonight. I just wanted to get that out along with this other one, term limits referendum. The board to discuss resolution number 13-57 that urges a November 2014 election referendum question on term limits for elected officials. Manager Searle.
About a month before the other resolution, the board enacted Resolution 1357, as the mayor stated, urging the board, this current sitting board, to put in the November 2014 election a referendum question on term limits for elected officials. And in that resolution, they suggested that no elected official, with the exception of the village clerk, should serve more than 2 consecutive four-year terms, and may again serve as an elected official after a minimum absence of 2 years. So those parameters were in that resolution. And like the last question, again, we put this on the agenda for discussion and clarification.
And I'm opening it up because the 3 board members
Can
were
Big
there.
Mouth open his mouth again?
Well, I wanted to hear the
Oh, you want to hear from them first? All right.
I'll let them, just the logic behind it and what the feeling was when you passed that, that resolution.
This was a different board at that time.
A very different board.
I think there were frustrations. I think it's hard not to be sitting in this boardroom, being in the state of Illinois, in the United States, where frustrations don't take out, you can't take your frustrations out, because what happens at the state and national level, it sinks in your head because you're thinking about it all the time. You have frustrations at this board level also. And it seems like it's the best idea, when in the long run, it's really the people's decision to make those of who sits and who doesn't.
It's true.
And this is an artificial way of correcting that and letting the public skate on not voting. And so I've had to do a lot of soul searching on this because I am or was a big proponent of this. But the more I hear people say, I want change, then you've got to be the ones that do it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then that's what you get. And so as much as I'm surprised at myself for changing my mind, because I normally don't do that, and my family will attest to that on numerous times. This is one that I just feel right now that I would not support, because the public has to take a stand. If you're tired of the way things are, then do something about it. Right. If you don't, then that's what you get. And it's, you know, I was having this discussion with somebody the other day because I've been thinking about it a lot. And one of the things was said, well, if you have term limits, then you're going to have, you could theoretically have new people coming in every 2 years. And if you look at studies on elected officials, it takes about 4 years to even learn the job before you have to do it, at least something once or twice. So here you've got people that are just starting, and you've got good people, they're just starting to learn the job, getting good at it, and then they're gone. Would you want that if you were going to go see a doctor and he had term limits of how long he could practice? Would you want that on anybody that would be a professional, you know, somebody who's doing accounting for you, anything like that? If you don't like it, you just get rid of them and you go to another doctor. So at this time, I have to say I am not in favor of it, or I would not, you know, go forward on it. But it's taken a lot of soul searching on it to come to this decision. But
Good.
You know, and I think that's well said. Just to take it even a step further, I indicated that only, 3,000 people might vote. Nonetheless, somebody wins and somebody loses. And if there's something that you don't like, as Bob says, do something about it. The people determine the term limits. If you start with a revolving door, you could end up with people that aren't qualified, people that don't care, people that are running for the wrong reasons. Yes, you could also you could find really wonderful people too, but do something about it. That's the bottom line. If just do something about it. I don't think it should be, your time is up. And perhaps the voters think you're making a good contribution. We've got young people that, perhaps would make a great contribution for more than 2 terms. Maybe that number was 3. But at this time, I agree with Trustee Scott. I think what we need to do is to work with our residents. We need to get people to vote, and we need people to get off their butts. I'll say it. I didn't say the other word. But we need to get people to get off their butts, take an interest, and do something about it. I don't think a piece of paper, an ordinance, is going to solve the problems. So I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm not ready for this.
Thank you.
I agree. When we talked about this back then, and I too have to say I changed my opinion on it. I think then I was in a different mindset between then and now. I can tell you I'm still learning stuff each and every day, and there's still more to learn. So I don't want to lose potential good trustees that have been here for so long, and the knowledge they have and that ramp-up speed as a resident, regardless of my post now. As a resident, I think that's a failure to the community. I also think we already have term limits, and they're called elections, and I think people need to get involved and to vote. But education is huge. There's no job description for a trustee or a mayor. There's no one telling you how to do it or what to do or when to do it. It's, you got to take advantage of everything and figure it out. And it takes time. It takes time to figure out how things get done, and to lose that time only sets back the community. So I would be against it as well.
there's only 2 qualifications, age and that you've been in the residency in the village for a year.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Trustee Addington.
Well, I was going to and it probably doesn't hurt to tell it anyway. Several years ago, I was at a municipal league meeting, and Democratic United States Senator Alan Dixon was arguing against term limits. And the argument that he made was in defense of Republican Congressman Bob Michael from Illinois, who had delivered tons of services and monies for benefit of Illinois. And he says, after 20-some years, you want to put in term limits and throw a guy like that out who's delivered for his community, for the state? And I think that's true. I think what was said is it's called an election. And the people make a decision. And you know what? If they've made a bad decision, wait 4 years. They'll make a good one.
Yeah. I don't know. Trustee Barker, do you have anything to add?
Do I have anything to add? Yeah, I wouldn't support term limits unless the people in these chairs weren't doing their jobs. And the amount of work that is required and the amount of work that these people do on behalf of the residents just astounds me. You know, sitting up here and trying to do my best, I appreciate everything that they currently do and what they've done in the past. And It really is incredible. And, you know, if there was a job description, Bob, there probably wouldn't be too many names on the ballot.
Well, I think we've seen a change in the community.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, this isn't the same town it was.
Right.
Okay? Organizations like yours and the other ones that are coming around have changed that. It's changed us. It's had to. We've stepped up our game.
Yeah.
The staff stepped up their game. It's a better place now. Okay? And we can see it. Those things change people's mind. I think the people will be more involved. I think we'll see more people running, or well, hopefully there's more people running, but we're going to see more people that are going to be voting. Yeah. That's what's important.
Right.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more. So, but again, this is, put it on here, and it's very healthy to have these discussions. Anybody from the, yes, once, can you do it twice in a night? Yeah, I guess you can.
Yeah, Joe's allowed.
You gotta say your name and address again.
Joe's been around a while.
Okay, again, Joe Hernsirkin, I live in Westmont, resident 224 East Naperville. Just a brief point. This discussion came up last year before the election on a conference call with Congressman Peter Roscom. And one of the things that he pointed out was that if all you had was term limits on your congressman of, say, 4 or 8 years, what you would have was be the perpetual motion of the staff running the nation. And that is one of the concerns. By having the person who's in office elected, by the time you figure out Washington, your first 2 years are up. Like any job. I'm a fire and police commissioner for this village, and I remember how long it took me. It took me about 3 years to really get into the job and really know what in the heck I was doing. I was using, you know, other things, but to learn the actual role, the rules, the regulations, to sit there, to read through the code book, which I'm now reading through the new one, and things like that, you have to keep up. So one of the things you have to do is that. The second thing is, as Sue points out, is people have to vote. If you don't like it, go out and vote. If you don't want to vote, I don't want to hear you get buying your coffee in the morning griping. You didn't take your opportunity to change it. And another thing, in a community like this, it isn't that hard to get on the ballot. And if you don't want to get on the ballot, it isn't that hard to get on a committee. There are plenty of committees around here that are looking for somebody to do work, whether it's the Environmental Concerns Commission that's being formed, Westmont First, whatever. There's an opening where you can do something to help shape and guide this community. This may not be true elsewhere, may not be true at the township, may not be true at the county. I don't know if it's true in Downers Grove or Clarendon Hills or Hinsdale, but it is true in this community. So we don't necessarily need to have term limits here. It is a two-edged sword that may be valid in certain roles. I certainly think it's good for the President of the United States to only have 2 terms as the Chief Executive Officer for 2 reasons. First off, it allows for the change, and secondly, it keeps from killing some guy. The job is a killer, and you have enough work for that. But as far as this community, there's plenty of ways to do things, including what I'm doing right here, coming before this board and being given the freedom and opportunity to speak and to be listened to by a board. So thank you very much. That's all I got to say.
Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Anybody else like to comment? If not, again, there's no action that needs to be done.
So we don't, because we did a resolution, we don't have to negate the
No,
resolution?
it was a resolution urging a future board to
Oh, okay,
consider
so
placing it on a
wasn't binding.
referendum. It
Okay.
was non-binding.
The impression I got, that will
Great.
not be on the agenda for approval. to be
But
put
I
on the
think
ballot.
it's important that we hear what Trustee Berry has to say on this.
Yeah, we'll have to
Sure.
talk. We'll-
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Miscellaneous, is there anything else tonight? I do want to thank both Joe and Kristen, our reporters, for the coverage you've been providing, both in the Trib-Local and the Suburban Life. Excellent coverage. I know you've been sitting through these meetings. We appreciate it. And everything you've been printing is very accurate. And we're getting a lot of good publicity. And that's a good way also to get the message out as far as telling the public to come to the meetings, like Joe does. We don't have to put I was considering
And they spell my name
limit
right,
at how
so
many
that's
times
good.
someone can come up to the podium, but Joe can come up a 3rd time if he wants. But we do appreciate it. Anything else?
Nope.
If not, executive session, there being no further business, I will accept a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of, 1, reviewing the executive session minutes, and 2, to discuss pending litigation involving the cases Trout versus Westmont and Chicago Title and Trust versus Westmont.
So move, Seneca.
Second, Addington.
Motion been made and seconded to go in executive session. Roll call, please.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
And there will not be any further business after the executive session, so this meeting is adjourned to go in executive session. Thank you.